Rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, if you please read the prepared statement and call the roll.
March 28, 2017. Please be advised, this meeting is being taped for video and audio broadcast. Assisted listening devices are available. Mr. Bonifant.
Here.
Mr. Corsello.
Here.
Mr. Hempstead.
Here.
Mr. Kimmel.
Here.
Mr. Sacchinelli. Ms. Melendez.
Here.
Mr. Sarasis.
Present.
Ms. Bowman.
Here.
Mr. Sims.
Present.
Mr. Kides.
Here.
Ms. Maggio.
Present.
Mr. DePalma. Ms. O'Toole Gianderco.
Here.
Mr. Igneri.
Here.
Mr. Livingston.
Here.
13 present.
13 present, we have a quorum. Next item on the agenda is the acceptance of the minutes of the meeting of March 20th, 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Igneri. Corrections, additions, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Carries unanimously, 13. Next item on the agenda is public participation. Clerk? City Clerk?
Pat Kirschner.
I'm Pat Kirschner. I live at 29 Split Rock Road in South Norwalk in Village Creek. I probably shouldn't be speaking because I'm way too emotional about this. I'm here to speak about Grasso Construction being awarded or even applying for a contract for paving within the city, and the city even considering giving them a contract when their business operation has not been in compliance for 20 years, like the last time I was here to talk about this. They have so many violations. They owe the city so much. Now, I understand that they are trying to operate this business under the auspices of their son, and I see their mother with them here tonight. Their mother was the owner of the company in the beginning. She was instrumental in running the company in the beginning. That company has not been in compliance on their property in 20 years. They don't try unless there's an application before zoning. If Mr. Grasso Jr. is not related to Mr. Grasso Sr., then why, when he brings an application before the Common Council or when he's asking to be awarded a contract, does the Grasso company suddenly become compliant? If there's no relationship, why do they suddenly become compliant? And finally, I'd like to know that if there's no relationship, where will they bring their process? Where will they dump their process? Where do their trucks come from? Who are they registered with? Does he pay the employees, or does the other Grasso company pay the employees? I want to know that there is a total disregard between father and son, because father has proven that he is not a good business person for the city of Norwalk. And I get that the father's actions shouldn't overshadow the son's, but the family, the mother and the father in the past have not been good for Norwalk. And I urge you to deny that contract to the Grasso.
Thank you, Ms. Kirshner.
Paul Braschi.
Hi, I'm Paul Brodsky. I live at 12 Split Rock Road, Norwalk, and I live directly across the marsh from the Grasso Construction, and I echo Pat's words completely. They have been the worst neighbor I can ever imagine. They do construction activities all night. We call the police 5 times, 6 times a year. Other people in the neighborhood call many more times. We've had the assistant chief of police out to talk about this issue. They changed how they rotate police so that they can get to the site. On and on and on. I've been at this for 14 years. She's been at it for 20 years. You can't reward this kind of behavior by giving them a contract. I don't care whose name is on the thing. That group has been out of compliance. They're at war with DEP, and the planning and zoning has had issues with them forever. So I would strongly encourage you not to award them that contract. They've been a very, very, very bad neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Braschi.
Tom Rich?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. For the record, my name is Thomas L. Rich, and in 2008, I became a major property owner in South Norwalk. I could give you the addresses of the establishments and properties that we own, but I think it would be more meaningful to name the businesses housed in our spaces. Many small businesses that are housed in our spaces. They're Beadworks, Cask Republic, Cirilla Home, Donovan's, Gallery Sono, Heller Highwater, an artisanal craft brewery that's about to open, Local Kitchen and Beer Bar, Love Art Gallery, Mecha Noodle Bar, Salon Halo, Salon Etra, The Vapor Well, the Sono Collections Local Leasing Office, Tablau Restaurant, Quartina Restaurant, Oishi Sushi, great sushi place, by the way. And our office tenants include Media Storm and Gig Masters, to name just a few. Now, you also may be aware that we recently opened the Sono Pearl on Washington Street, which is a brand new 66-unit apartment house at 101 Washington Street, which is leasing up swiftly, and also, by the way, includes a public parking garage, which has quickly become a very valuable resource for the neighborhood there. And I'm finally pleased to report that after many, many years, we recently broke ground on the 102-room Residence Inn by Marriott on South Main Street next to the police station. We hope to have that open by April of 18. So suffice it to say, we're deeply vested in Norwalk and in the Sono neighborhood, and we care immensely about its survival, its improvement, and its continued upward trajectory. As to the issue at hand, and we didn't really talk about it yet, but the issue that I'm here to talk about is the noise ordinance that you're going to talk about a little bit later. And as to that issue at hand, I've been involved with mixed-use development, the blending together of housing, retail, restaurant, hotel, office, and entertainment space for my entire 40-year career in real estate. And I can tell you unequivocally that out-of-control noise in any neighborhood in the entire country does not work with the variety of uses that I've just listed. Now, most people think of Sono as a retail, restaurant, and entertainment district, and that it certainly is. But what you don't hear about is throughout its history, and increasingly so with its revitalization, it's become home to a 400-unit rental and condo home community. There are 600 plus people who live there, and they certainly deserve the ability to have an undisturbed, uninterrupted, and peaceful sleep. This is as much a health issue as it is anything else. All of the establishments that I mentioned earlier, and I left out a lot of Sono stalwarts where we're not the landlord, are absolutely the lifeblood of that neighborhood, and not one of them causes a disturbance or would be negatively impacted by the change in the ordinance before you. The law change that I and others are trying to get adopted is intended to address the one or two bad apples who continue with wanton abandon to blast their noise onto the streets with total disregard for their neighbors. While we are in full support of simply raising the fine from $99 to $250, that alone is not going to get us there. The allowable decibel level in mixed-use situations needs to be reduced to 45 or under, and we hope that in the very near future you'll have the option to vote on that as well. So let me state for the record that the noise violators are in the minority in the scheme of things in Sono or in any other neighborhoods throughout the city where this issue may exist. They'll tell you that if this law is passed, it will lead to their demise. It will lead to negative economic change, and guess what? That is complete nonsense, to use a polite word. My company owns more retail, restaurant, entertainment, and residential space than anyone in SoNo, and if the change we hope to get adopted soon is supposed to hurt business, why would we be supporting its adoption? We wouldn't. It's ridiculous. So the truth is excessive noise disturbance is eliminated, and it can be. Neighborhoods improve, that leads to more economic growth, more jobs, more property tax revenue, and more benefits for the city. Now, as far as the 1 or 2 nightclubs that would be affected or other operations in the city, they don't have to close. They just need to be good neighbors, abide by the law, play by the rules. It's not complicated. They need to install volume limiters on their sound equipment. They need to keep the windows and doors shut at all times and install sound insulating features in their spaces. The allowable decibel levels, which I won't go into much detail on that because that's not before you, but what we hope to get in front of you, you'll find they're widely accepted in cities all around the country. On behalf of myself and 600 residents of the neighborhood, I urge you to pass this ordinance for now. But just know that raising the fine is a completely useless step without giving law enforcement the tool to do its job. They will only have those tools if the allowable decibel level threshold is lowered. Warmer weather is on the way, and as I mentioned in front of the ordinance committee the other night, I shudder to think how emboldened these few establishments will be, not only in SoNo but other parts of the city, if the new ordinance does not get in front of you and get adopted quickly. Thank you very, very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Rich.
And thank you for all you do for Norwalk.
Thank you.
Vernon Howard.
I'm actually going to pass. I can't say anything more than
Luigi DiMeglio.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of the Common Council. My name is Luigi DiMeglio. I reside at 20 Lubrano Place in South Norwalk. I agree very much with the audience that's here opposing the contractor's yard, and I urge this Common Council to go forward with increasing fines and lowering the decibels levels. For my case, I live behind a contractor who's called Premier Wood, and I've recorded decibel levels in my home at 62, outside my home at almost 70 and beyond. So these contractors are totally ignoring the quality of life that surround their properties. All they care about is the bottom dollar. So again, I agree with Mr. Rich and everyone else here that please, we're asking you to, for the citizens of Norwalk that just want to come home, have a peaceful time in their homes, in their properties. My area is zoned light industrial, but that was 100 years ago. And businesses that expel their noise, that filtrates into my property, I believe is illegal, and the odors that filtrate into my home where I cannot even open my windows on a nice spring day. So please, do what you need to do to help the citizens of this city. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. DiMeglio.
Luke Conrad.
Council, thank you for taking the opportunity here. I'm counsel for Grasso Companies, LLC. Over the course of the past couple years, Grasso has had a couple bids come up in front of the city of Norwalk. And I'm not a taxpayer of the city of Norwalk, but I am a taxpayer of a town in Connecticut. And personally, I would not want to see my municipality spend an additional $128,138 to go to a second bidder. There's statutes in Connecticut. There's a public bidding statutes. The bid is to go to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. And with this bid and with other bids that Grasso has been passed on, that would be $250,000 approximately, take it or leave it, in money that we passed on to the taxpayers solely because the contractor is not popular in the town. I represent a number of general contractors across the state, across the Northeast, and contractors are in the business of building, and it's a dirty business. It's necessary to build schools. It's necessary to build roads. Certainly, we're receptive to the fact that there are residents in the area, but at the end of the day, work has to get built, and the bid has to go to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. Grasso has a history of doing good work. There aren't workmanship complaints. There's not a lot of rework. There's never been a claim on their payment or performance bond that they haven't paid their subcontractors. They're current on their taxes with the city of Norwalk. Grasso Companies is current with the zoning obligations, and with respect to outstanding past taxes, there is no legal obligation of Grasso Companies LLC for the tax liabilities of other organizations. Certainly there are laws in this country to address bankruptcy, and it is a well-established, and there is precedent for an organization to go through that legal process. And Grasso Companies LLC is owned by Joe Grasso Jr. He has no part in any previous organization, and there's no part of any other organization that has a financial interest in Grasso Companies LLC. Again, Grasso Companies LLC is the lowest responsible and responsive bidder. They're low by over $100,000 and would be fiscally irresponsible to go to another bidder. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Conrad.
Steve Kirshner?
Thank you, members of the council. My name is Stephen Kirshner. I live at 29 Split Rock Road. For over 20 years, the Grasso enterprises have been bad neighbors. For the majority of this time, they have been in violation of our city zoning regulations and have also had numerous DEP violations. They have been issued numerous cease and desist orders, and I hope that you council members and the city will no longer enter into any contracts with Grasso or any of its entities, both former or future, until any and all of the violations are cleaned up, any and all of the old tax obligations are paid, any of all of the federal tax obligations that are paid. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Kirshner.
Greg Guesswine?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Guesswine. I live at 137 Washington Street, which is actually right across from Donovan's. I look at it every night, and I've owned my property for the past 6 years. I purchased my condo in 2011, and I came here to talk about the noise ordinance. I actually got an email yesterday from our property management, and I just wanted to share my perspective on the issue, and then also hear others to learn about their perspective. But for me, like I said, I've been living there for 6 years, and right on the street, and I haven't been affected adversely by the noise ordinance. Part of my decision to move to Norwalk was to enjoy the nightlife here and be close to it. I enjoy being active and going out to restaurants, and occasionally having friends come over and going to an establishment that has some live music for dancing. So my only concern is if we pass a noise ordinance, if that's going to adversely affect the community and the neighborhood, and if our Washington Street would lose some of its draw and attraction to a younger crowd that likes to enjoy it. I would like to see a balance. I'm sure there's quite a few people here that are perhaps complaining about the noise, but I think we all agree that we want the city of Norwalk to flourish and succeed. But again, from my perspective, you know, I do enjoy that aspect of Norwalk, and I would, you know, personally be a little bit dismayed if this will affect the nightlife and the culture, which is part of the reason why I decided to move to Norwalk and, you know, participate in what, you know, is here in South Norwalk. So thank you all. Just want to share my perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Geiswein.
Diane Loricella?
Good evening. I'm here tonight to speak on two items on the agenda. The first is the Ordinance Committee. I thank the Ordinance Committee and all of you for beginning a dialogue about changing and amending the noise ordinance. It is needed, long needed, long ago. I'm here today to have you consider, though, that as far as the fines go, I absolutely am in favor of fines being elevated. There has to be a deterrent for people. $250 I don't think goes far enough, but it is better than $99. I would like to have you consider later on, as we've been promised. I'm here tonight as a citizen, but I'm also here as a member of the South Newark Citizens for Justice. Folks have been out every night at different meetings, so they could not be here. Ernie Dumas is our president. We want you to know that we think the $250 doesn't go far enough, and we would like a gradual increase after that, unless it's not allowed by state statute. Because some of these folks will wait, it may be 5 or 10 times that they're out of compliance, and then they'll only, $250 they make in some case, in this particular case on Washington Street, that's maybe a party of 4 having a few drinks. So it's really not worth it to them that one time, but it does cause a lot of sleep problems and nerves and problems with the neighborhood. I'm here because, indeed, we expect fully, sooner rather than later, that we begin to talk about the noise ordinance as far as enforcement, because I do agree with Mr. Rich and all of the speakers that have spoken on this issue that you can't, for effectiveness, you have to make sure that you have the tools. And already I know there's some discussion, but it's not going far enough, so we want to make sure there's a meeting to discuss the details of how to make that happen, so that when those fines are asked for, they stick. Because without the tools, you cannot hold up in court. My second item and last item, of course, is the Grasso situation. I ask tonight that this be denied or be denied. I am just saddened that it's come this far. Many good people have spent hours and hours researching. I have concerns about the process of our city council. I would have liked to have seen this die on the vine in committee, in the Public Works Committee. The optics on this for other vendors and the optics for the citizens of Norwalk is not good. While the attorney for the Grasso people asked for the lowest responsible bidder, I'm so pleased that the council has that now part of their decision-making. But this bidder is not responsible. And I'm very surprised that Corporation Counsel's office would say over and over again that there are no violations. When I looked up the Secretary of State's office, it's very hard, the web that has been woven between the son and the father. I'm still doing some research that I hope Corporation Counsel does and council members in the future. The trucks, the equipment, even if it was purchased from the father, the land that the son is sitting on is originally from the family, and they are benefiting, the current applicant is benefiting, and it's called in terms of the law, ill-gotten gains. And I think that means a lot to the public and the citizens. I was once living on Village Creek. I was a renter. And enjoyed the time there. I just wanted to say that $100,000 is not worth it. I think if this city would increase fines and do a better enforcement job in many departments, including health, zoning, of course, and the like, we would make up that $100,000 that this applicant is saving us, or $128,000 is what they're currently saying. I didn't do all the math. We would make it up in spades and we'd have plenty of money. Lastly, I do think this city in the future concern funds to go back into neighborhoods for neighborhood beautification. Because these folks, especially when I was at Village Creek 7 or 8 years ago, they were having discussions over Grasso back then, and as the Kirschners mentioned, 20 years in the making. It was a constant source of problems. People should not have to do the work of the city staff, and I beg you please to deny this, and please look to the next bidder who is responsible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. La Rochella. That was the last speaker signed up to speak before the council. Next item on the agenda, resignations and appointments. We have 2 resignations. One, Galen Wells resigning as a zoning commission alternate, and Mr. Steve Kirschner resigning as a facilities construction commission member. I want to thank both of you for your service to the community. As I've spoken in the past, it's very difficult to find people that are willing to give up a lot of time to work on behalf of the city, and so I do thank you for your time. Thank you so much. Now we have appointments. First appointment is Ms. Galen Wells to a full member of the Zoning Commission. Do I have a motion?
I will make that motion.
Mr. Igneri.
I am honored to make the motion to Galen Wells join the Zoning Commission. I've known her for 5 years. She has an excellent resume here. She has great experience in residential and commercial real estate law, business formation and collections, and it's all the things we discussed tonight. She is energetic, nonstop, I shall say, and she also gives back to our community in many different ways. So I look forward to working with her on the Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Igneri. Further discussion, Mr. Livingston.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to second actually Mr. Igneri's comments. I've had the pleasure of knowing Galen for a few years now, and it's always been a pleasure to work with her. As John said, she has great experience with commercial and real estate law, and of course she's very, very involved in the community and has given quite a bit of her time to all of us. So I think she'd be a great addition.
Thank you. Further discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Congratulations. Next, we have the appointment of James Stewart Hamilton for Facilities Construction Commission. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Mr. Livingston.
I'd like to move Mr. Hamilton to the Facilities Construction Commission. I do not personally know Mr. Hamilton, but I have looked at his resume, which is very impressive. He's a professional engineer, went to Cornell University. He has great experience in the engineering field, and he also has been a former member of this Common Council, and also, well before my time, and even Bruce's time, I understand. But
no, I doubt that.
He serves as chair of the Public Works Committee and also served in the Recs and Parks Committee, so he really knows the city. I think he'd be a great addition, particularly when we have all this school construction projects coming up.
Thank you, Mr. Livingston. Mr.
Hempstead.
Mr. Hempstead.
You must have been on the council. I've been called other things.
Give him a couple.
Well, I did serve with Mr. Hamilton.
Yes.
That was my first term.
Not our city clerk.
It was my first term, and it was very interesting. It was a very interesting time because there were about 10 new people on the council at that time. So poor Mr. Hamilton, who was the chair of the Public Works Committee, and back in those days, it was the parking authority, it was the wastewater treatment plant, plus all the other stuff. We had chair. We'd be usually ordering pizza about 9:30, 10 o'clock, because we usually get done at midnight. Because it was all new to us, there was usually 30 items. So I was glad to see Mr. Hamilton getting back into things. So I haven't seen him in 30 years, basically.
Thank you, Mr. Hempstead. Further discussion.
Yes.
Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstention? Carries unanimously. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Hamilton. Next, we have a reappointment of William Waters to the Oak Hills Park Authority. Do I have a motion? Ms. O'Toole-Giandirko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bill has been on the authority for a term, and we're glad to see him willing to come back on for another go of it. He's been working really hard and been instrumental in all that's been going on at the park with the managing of the grant and all the construction that has been going on. So I'm glad that you're willing to stay on. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the reappointment.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously. Congratulations. And if you'll come down, the city clerk will administer the oath of office to you.
Do the two council appointments?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
Okay.
Let's hold off on that. Thank you. But just saying that we have some excellent candidates for appointments to these various boards and commissions, and I thank you for your willingness to serve. We also are always looking for people from all over the community to serve on the boards and commissions. So if you know of anybody, or if anybody in the audience has an interest, please let us know. We have the website has all the openings that are available, and if you can't find them on the website, then certainly our city clerk will be more than happy to assist in determining what your interests might be. So again, thank you very much for your willingness to serve. Next, I have the mayor's remarks, just a couple. April 5th, coming up, Norwalk will celebrate Poetry Month with its annual Lit Crawl from 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in 4 separate venues. It is like a rolling celebration of poetry, and in all its benefits literacy volunteers. And it all benefits literacy volunteers. For more details, you can contact Chris Bradley at the Norwalk Public Library. If you haven't been to a Lit Crawl, people from around the community, different council members, other people in the community, business owners, will be reading poetry or some of their favorite literature to a group of people, and it's always a lot of fun. Sometimes people go a little bit overboard, especially when they read Casey at the Bat or something like that, and they don all the equipment and bring the baseball bats with them and the hats, and it's a lot of fun. So you can look it up where the venues are. I know one of them is going to be Fat Cat on Wall Street. I'm not sure where some of the others are, but it's a lot of fun. I encourage everybody to attend. Early reminder, we'll have another council meeting prior to this, but Saturday, April 22nd is Earth Day in the city of Norwalk, along with the Redevelopment Agency. We'll be having our annual Earth Day cleanup of our neighborhoods. Lowe's and the Norwalk Hour are going to be sponsoring our efforts again this year. Neighborhood groups and teams of friends and families will be starting at Lowe's about 10 o'clock in the morning. You can pick up free t-shirts and supplies. You'll get a pair of gloves, you'll get a picker, some garbage bags, and we'll give you areas that need cleanup, and we will also supply maps of areas that need our attention. And you can also choose your own neighborhood or park. So if you feel that your neighborhood or park can use a nice cleanup, you can certainly get together a group of people to go there and help clean up. That's April 22nd. Last year we had over 100 people come out and volunteer. It was really great. So thank you for all you do. And I don't know if Diane's going to do the Norwalk River again coming down. She brings people from Norwalk Community College to do that. Last but not least, yesterday, anybody who was watching television probably saw the results of the Yukon Huskies women's team winning their 111th game. I was fortunate enough to be present to watch it. They beat Oregon 90 to 52. It was a great game, and now they're going to be going on to Texas to play a game against Mississippi State in the Final Four. So they've made the Final Four. If they win that game, they go to the finals. We don't know who their opponent would be yet, but this is on their drive for 5. They certainly have put Connecticut basketball on the map and brought a lot of recognition to our state. So get out there, wear your Yukon Huskies shirts and hats and everything, and cheer them on. Congratulations, Huskies. Mr. Igneri.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my voice tonight, but these days before the council meetings, you spend a lot of time talking on the phone. So I've gained new respect for the previous council presidents on the sitting here. Too much time. In terms of general council business, I'd like to do some house cleaning. We've had a change in one of the committees, that's Health and Welfare. Mr. Mike DePalma has resigned from that committee, and John Kites has taken his place and is now chairman of the Health and Welfare Committee.
I'm sorry?
What?
Did you sit chair?
No.
No.
Huh?
What?
Did you?
No, I forget I quit. Never mind.
Wow.
A lot of comments in
more
the
than being on the
gallery
phone
here today. The council also has some appointments tonight to the Ethics Board. We have two appointments. One is for Mr. Geraldo Williams. Do I hear a motion? Mr. Kimmel.
Yeah, I'd like to move that we support Geraldo, the reappointment of Geraldo Williams to the Ethics Board. I've known Geraldo for a couple of years. He's intelligent, calm, even-handed, and he's a good listener. And they're the qualities you need on that kind of board, where sometimes delicate and complex issues come before you. And so I think he's done a good job, and I'm sure he'll do a good job going forward. So I hope you can support that recommendation.
May I add? Because if I didn't, my little chasey boy would be very mad at me. Mr. Williams is well-loved, and he has exactly what is needed for the Ethics Board. He's got the fantastic morals and principles, and his activity and behavior just shows what type of person he is, and his wife. Thank you for serving again, Mr. Williams.
Any other comment? Mr. Hempstead.
Yeah, I worked with Mr. Williams on a board, and I think a couple other places, and everything everybody said is very nice. He's very even-handed, very principled, and it's a good find to have for the committee, and I think it's good stewardship underneath his hands.
Thank you. Any further comments? Mr. Sims.
Yes, I know Mr. Williams for a number of years now, and he's always been an individual that's always looking to help in any way, and he's always been a part of trying to make the city better and moving the city forward. And I just ask all my colleagues to support this nomination because he's well deserved.
Any other further comments?
Right. And I have known Mr. Williams for some time now, and I've seen he's been doing some great work on the Ethics Committee, so I would also second his nomination.
Additional comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Looks unanimous. Thank you. Then we are reappointing Miklos Kolazar. Do I hear a motion? Mr. Porcello.
I'd like to move that. Mr. Kolazar, Mickey, I've known him over 30 years. He's a practicing lawyer in Norwalk. I think he's been practicing probably for over 40 years. He enjoys an impeccable reputation. He embodies what it is to be devoted to public service. He's served on various boards and agencies with the city. He's been on numerous boards of nonprofit organizations, Keystone House. He's been president of civic organizations, Kiwanis, JCs, and I actually served with him on the ethics board. I can tell you that he appreciates the seriousness, the sensitive nature of the matters that come before you, and his only agenda is to be fair. I'm very pleased that he's willing to do it. I'm pleased to nominate him, and I hope you'll all support him.
Any other comments? Mr. Bonifaz.
Well, not too much to say after that, but that was very good, Mike. I just want to say thank you, Mickey, for serving, and Harold, thank you very much for serving, all right? Yeah. Ethics is not like one of those glorious ones or anything like that, and the less work you do, the better, I'm thinking. You know, but we appreciate your service. Thank you.
Further comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous?
And
Now, if
for
you'll-
one more, before we proceed, I just wanted to get some clarification on that comment.
Oh, yeah.
She's nervous. She's like, "You
Just
lost my chairmanship?"
That's good. Just for the record, I just wanted to.
Yeah. I think she's saying there's been no change in the chair of the Public Safety, Health and Welfare Committee.
Sorry.
If they want to come down and be sworn in, if you'll come down now, all the appointees, Mr. Igneri.
Come right here.
Actually, it was pretty good for me. Water side. Hey, buddy, how are you? What's your name? Well, what school do you go to? Wolfen. Oh, wow, you look big. I thought you were in junior high. Fourth grade? No. Holy mackerel. Hey, man. How you doing? Hamilton, how are you?
You, William Waters, having been reappointed as a member of the Oak Hills Park Authority of the City of Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God, or upon the pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations.
If you'll sign both of these and leave me one, okay? Who's next? Mickey?
This reminds me of when I was sworn in.
I can do you and Geraldo together because it's the same office. How's that for efficiency? It's the only efficient thing we're going to do.
Go to school tomorrow.
Okay, take care, Will.
When I say you, just say
Thank you.
your name. You,
Nicholas Cole.
having been reappointed as a member of the Ethics Board of the City of Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God, or upon the pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations again.
Each
Geraldo,
sign one
congratulations.
and leave me one.
Council position.
Here's another.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think, right, for it, a lot of work to do.
Galen. You'll raise your right hand,
You
please.
got that attorney hand signature.
You, Galen W. Wells, having been appointed as a regular member of the Zoning Commission of the City of Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God, upon the pains and penalties of perjury. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congrats again.
Keep-
I'll talk to you guys soon, I'm sure.
Keep the top one and leave me the second one, okay? Jim, my old friend.
Hey, Ralph.
We haven't seen him.
Good luck, man.
Tell your wife I said hi.
One more hat, huh?
Thank you.
Thank you.
You keep this one. As you can see, I made a mistake on that one. You, James Stewart Hamilton.
That was funny.
Having been appointed as a member of the Facilities Construction
Something else
Commission
written
of the
down for
City of
chairman.
Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment, so help you God, upon the pains and penalties of perjury. Congratulations. And if you'll sign one and leave me the second one.
Regular now.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Great.
Changes?
Yeah, yeah, sign for that, yeah, and then you can keep it. All right, thank you.
Mr. Igneri.
Jim, you don't want to do this anymore? You don't want to do this anymore?
Common council.
Yeah, turning to the consent,
Welcome back.
consent calendar. Mr. Sarasis is going to read the consent calendar tonight, and Mr. Bonifant is on for the next council meeting.
Make it a short one.
Mr. Sarasis?
Thank you, Mr. Igneri.
I'll just make one comment. Anything on the consent calendar will be approved, and if you're waiting for an item on that, after it's approved, you're welcome to go home and not listen to the rest of this meeting. So, thank you. Mr. Sarasis.
Thank you, Mr. Igneri. Reports, departments, boards, and commissions. 6A1, Corporation Council. Be it resolved that the indigency policy as presented on the record be adopted as that of the City of Norwalk. This is consent to table to Finance Committee. 7A1 and 2, I'll read them both in order. Public Works Committee, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute a second amendment to the September 8th, 2000.
That's not on the agenda. The agenda's been updated. So 1A and 1B, here.
Basically just have one item.
Here, Steve.
Just delete that one item.
What do I not have?
That one item has been tabled to the committee.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, could you specify which items has been tabled? And
The item.
The two I'm gonna read are-
Safety marking was tabled to committee, not to this council meeting.
at the last
Consent to
consent.
Finance Committee.
Okay. From the beginning. 7A, 1A, and 1B, both have been consented to be tabled back to committee. 1A, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute an agreement with the Grasso Companies LLC for the project PM 2017-1 Pavement Management Program for a sum not to exceed $3,410,044, accounts noted. And 1B, authorize the Director of Public Works, Bruce Chimento, to execute orders on the contract with Grasso Companies LLC for the project PM 2017-1 Pavement Management Program for a sum not to exceed $341,004.40. Accounts have been noted, and this has been consented to be tabled back to committee once again. B1, Land Use and Building Management Committee, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to the Walker Group to consolidate IT data and storage units and virtual server for the Norwalk Public Schools for a total not to exceed $69,439,034. Account noted. C, Ordinance Committee, C1, approve proposed ordinance changes on the Norwalk Code Chapter 68-10A, noise. D, Health, Welfare, and Public Safety Committee, D1, authorize the Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute the contract between the City of Norwalk and the Town of Weston for a sum of $15,000 per annum to be paid by Weston to Norwalk for the utilization of the Norwalk Juvenile Review Board Program, JRB, effective July 1st, 2017. D2, authorize Mayor Harry W. Rilling to execute any and all documents necessary to apply for and accept the School Readiness Grant, which includes the Quality Enhancement Grant for the period July 1st, 2017 to June 30th, 2018. And I hand it over back to you, Mr. Igneri.
Thank you, Mr. Strazzis. All in favor of the consent calendar as read? Looks like unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I turn it back to you.
Seeing no further business to come before the council, I don't see any. Maybe I'm missing it, but
Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn by Ms. Maggio. Was it? No.
No, it was her. No.
Ms. Maggio, all in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.